And of course I start coughing as soon as I start videotaping. This isn't video, is it? Anyway, sorry, my brain is not braining right now. I wanted to show you what got finished up yesterday. And you can see here, I was kind of hemming and hawing about whether or not I wanted to put little beads on the ends of the posts. And in the end, I decided they were too cute, so I added them. You can see there's a little bit of a, get this over here, a little bit of a hole-ish kind of thing. That's where the toothpick is. I'm not sure if I like that. I may have to change some things around. I'm not doing anything like like I said, I just said toothpick. I'm basically, let me get in here. I can just get one of these. Come here, you. Come here. There we go. I put one of these on the end, and everything's glued into place. And this is more or less to kind of disguise the size of the bead hole here. And these are just some little wooden beads I picked up at the dollar store. And once these are glued in place, I just take a knife and I nip that little bit off. I try to get it pushed down hard enough so there's like no gap between the toothpick part, the wooden part, and the little tiny bead. And then what I do is I just use an awl and make a hole, and I leave the majority of this on, and I glue it into place through the center. It adds a little bit more stability, and I think it looks cute. I'm only doing it for the twin beds though. The bunk beds are going to stay the same. So I'm going to finish. I decided to do one. I did the turquoise one first, and then I did this one, and I was like, I liked how they look like little cherries on top of ice cream. So then I did the pink one. So yeah, those. The shelves have now been finished, and yes, I like how this works better. I like how this can wrap in and hold down, and there's not a big horrible spot here. However, I didn't do it on the top, and I've got a little bit of warping that bugs me. But this is, I think, the final construction version that I'm going to be using. This top still isn't perfect, but it's way better than it was. Way better than it was. So I like how this turned out a lot. The furniture still has a nice heft to it in that you can tell it's not paper. Like, you can tell it's not paper. So this is going to be, what the heck is that? Some little bit of paper there. Get that out of the way. I like using the laminated, let me see if I can grab a piece of it, because there's a definite difference between, this is the laminated, this is 2 pieces of carton board and a little piece of white on top. It's a bit more flexible, and sometimes it can bow a little bit, but once it is, drop it, once it is in place and glued down, the other parts help pull it straight, if that makes any sense. So yeah, I'm pleased with both of these a lot, and I have 2 more that I can continue testing on to do this method one more time just to make sure I've got it right. So that's those. I've also got to make, I pulled out, since it's been hot, we haven't been, how do I put this, in an effort to eat more healthfully, my husband and I have been really, over the past year, reducing our eating of processed foods, and that includes a lot of carbohydrates and sugars that are now really starting to upset sugars are upsetting my stomach a lot lately. So the one treat is we have Pizza Friday, but it's been so hot. It's been so hot that it's just, we don't turn on the stove. So I'm digging through and finding old frozen pizza boxes to use these on. And then I had another couple of ideas for how the rocking chair should go together. I love this one in particular. I love the colorful fabric on it. And I got the weights correct. I now know. It's interesting. You put this all together, and before you put on the back, it'll rock perfectly. And I'm like, yay! And then I put the back on, and it goes, and it lays there. And you wouldn't think a piece of paper would add that much weight, but it really, really does. So inside here, I'm really glad that there's this big hunk here. You can see here, I've got a piece of paper wrapped foam core. So inside of this, coming up against this, is a piece of gray board, which is heavier and thicker. And then what I did to counteract the weight pulling backward is I have a full square and then a third of the square, so a rectangle, and then another rectangle, so it adds more weight to the top. And then I just pop this in. It weighs practically nothing, and then it will balance out correctly. Now, one thing I did do to this is, you can see here I've got multiple pieces of like heavyweight paper. I really need to get back in there and get some of that white taken care of. I took the inner rockers and I attached them to some paper, let them dry, and then cut them all out at the same time, so the papers are glued together before I cut it out. And I'm sitting here thinking, do I want to add another piece of paper? And there's part of me that's like, I could add another weighted piece of paper on the inside version of the leg that still, you can see, is attached here. There's a smooth line here. These are folded in and glued down. I think I'd love to change this into a curve, but for right now I'm leaving it as is. I think, with the possible exception of this little bit here where I'm going to move that cut line way closer to the edge so there's more wood showing, I think that's the only correction I'm going to make to this, because it just works so well and I'm so pleased with it. So yeah, I think I'm gonna do one more, and I'm gonna try out adding yet another piece of paper just to shore it up. I mean, this is pretty stiff, but you know me, I've always gotta poke the bear and see if I can make it even better. Because then there's part of me that's like, why don't I just detach all of it, detach these, have the let me see, dig back here. Let me see, because I'm running low on things to cut out here. Let's look at this. This is another one I have to work with, and I should have pulled it out anyway. And you can see here how these are attached here to the base. If I detach those and in essence just make 4 of these that are separate and then can be glued together, then that would make it a little I could work on them a little easier, because part of some of the problem in getting in here and making sure all this is the right way is that they're attached. You can see it's a brilliant design. Nandor Honti did a really, really good job with this rocking chair. I added this piece on and this piece on, and I detached some other stuff that was hooked to the front that just did not work at all. But the majority of this is a brilliant little rocking chair design. So I'm going to give it a whirl and see if there's anything to it by adding these. I've got another one that I can use the other size, because these are all exactly the same. I just copy pasted, and see if that will work. Because as you can see, these flappy arms up here always drive me nuts, because they'll just be like, it's like a bird in your house kind of thing. They're like all over the place. So the first thing I have to do after I cut them out is after putting the bits of color on the back where the folds are, I fold these and glue these and get them out of the way because they just drive me nuts. And it's weird. This is one of those pieces that the faster you get the box and the back on, the quicker the assembly goes. Because sometimes pieces like this, you have to go a little slower and you have to do things in stages and it has to be done a certain way. And you have to do all kinds of stuff to the inside before you can even think about sealing up the back. This is a little bit opposite. But I gotta say, this is an absolutely delightful chair. Yeah, Nandor did a good job on that one. So that's what I'm going to be working on. In addition to, I've got to solve, there's some construction problems, still some sequencing problems with the dolly bed, and I need to nail it down because this is such a sweet piece, and it has to do with these tabs right here, because it's another one of those, everything needs to be put together and oh, where do these pieces need to be cut out and glued in only after the entire bed is together, which seems to run contrary to how my brain works. And then I also need to figure out the maths on this. I think I know what I'm doing, but I need to figure the maths out on that. So yeah, I got stuff to do today. So working artist here, going back to what I was doing before. Thank you all patrons for sticking with me. You keep me in color copies and keep me from hiding away completely from the world, because I'm kind of in that mood right now where it's like I kind of want to go hide and let everything else be on fire because everything is just terrible. Anyway, thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.